You're watching Bring Your Worth TV. Thank you for coming through. I'm excited to have y'all here. I'm entrepreneurial coach Damon Brown. I'm here to help you as a side hustler, a solopreneur, otherwise a non-traditional entrepreneur. You're watching Bring Your Worth TV. Come to you live on Wednesdays at 1:11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Vegas time. Thank you for coming through. And I am author of several books, including the complete Bring Your Worth collection, right behind my big head. I think I might have a copy. There we go. If I have a copy. No, I have a copy. The complete Bring Your Worth collection. And it features three of my books. In fact, some of my best-selling and according to y'all, the most popular business books that I've done, including The Ultimate Bite-Sized Entrepreneur, which started this journey, as well as Bring Your Worth, the eponymous book that became the publishing company, also became the show, Bring Your Worth TV, and Built From Now, How to Know Your Power, how to know your power, see your abundance, and nourish the world. Suddenly I had to burp and then my brain went away. Thank y'all for coming through. I appreciate y'all. It's been a really, really fun journey connecting with y'all. We just had the 5-year anniversary of the show. So yeah, thank you for riding with me. We just had the 5th anniversary on the equinox. So equinox, winter solstice, always get the names mixed up. So I appreciate y'all. Thank you for coming through. Today, we're going to talk about one specific thing. Make rest a priority. Live Q&A, Bring Your Worth, 442. I talk about this in today's newsletter. You can read about it at joindamon.me. The links are all below at joindamon.me. And one of the challenges that we have when it comes to the new year is that we actually have a hard time. We assume when the new year is going to begin that we'll be ready for it, that we'll be ready to go, we'll be fighting for it. We're going to be excited to show up and do our thing. And the truth is that there we go. And the truth is that there's a level of um, of humility that we have to have going into the new year. As I talk about in today's newsletter, which I believe the name of the newsletter is um, when jumpstarting doesn't work or when you can't jumpstart your life. We find these different hacks, these different ways to show up in a certain way. We want to be as productive as possible. If we're running our own business, then that means we need to motivate ourselves. If we're dealing with our family, whether it's any dependents that we have, I have little kids. They're in elementary school and in the middle of middle school. I've had them since I started my business. In fact, I started my business and then they came into my life with my former partner. And so there's all this beautiful stuff that happens with that. But then you also have other people that might be dependent on you, whether it's your parents, your grandparents, anybody, employees. And so you can't just quite sit down and just chill out. That's difficult to do. The nice part is that there's multiple ways that you can work on on uh, on leveling things up and making things stronger so that you can continue to rest. I talk about that in a recent short that I did that actually are in the comments below. I'll go and share that a little bit later on today. But basically, psychologists found 7 different ways beyond the traditional napping that we can do to rest. And I think it's so important to have the discussion and go a little bit deeper. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Ways that you can rest within the chaos of your world, whether it's the macro world or the micro world. We often will put ourselves aside, particularly when people are dependent on us, and assume that we don't have the time or the energy to make it happen. But in reality, we can actually show up and do wonderful work and also go ahead and take care of ourselves. I think it's really important to understand that distinction. So the first step when it comes to actually making rest a priority is to create systems with free or low cost tools. Here's what I mean. We talked about this in a previous episode where we were talking about ways to have your money work for you and to do better money, better profit, and things of that nature. One of the challenges that we can run across is that we assume we have to do these major things, and it's a very binary thing to actually rest. Just like if you've ever had a conversation with yourself and with other people, or you've heard other people talk about it, where they'll say, I'm going to improve my finances if only I became a millionaire. Once I became a millionaire, it's easy street. I'm on the sunny side of the street, as the classic song talks about. I'm golden. I'm good. That's actually usually not true. There's incremental things, unless you hit the lottery or you happen to have a really, a really good business exit. Someone buys your business for millions of dollars. But even if that's the case, as we talk about with lottery winners, often that doesn't work. Same thing with rest. Often we'll go ahead and say, I'm going to take this, I'm going to work my butt up, I'm going to do all nighters, all this stuff. And then one day, when every bill is paid, when the kids are all done with college, da da da, then I'll go ahead and rest and I'll have the best rest ever. The problem with those two things, and that's why they're parallel, is that we're focusing more on what we're going to do in the future versus building systems right now. Versus building systems right now. To paraphrase one of my favorite speakers, rest in peace, Jim Rohn. It's Rohn. It's worth looking him up. He talks about how can I believe that you're going to be responsible with $5 million if you're not responsible with $5? If you're in a situation where you're like, I don't know where the money went, having more money isn't going to help you with that situation. I've had my financial ups and downs, so it's not it's not an indictment on you for sure. I'm saying this because I can relate to that. Same thing with your rest. If you do not have the systems in place to allow yourself to rest, then how will you have your big company? How will you build your startup? How will you find balance once you have kids or when your parents get older, you need to take care of them? How will you do all that? So it doesn't have to do, again, with you having this big goal. And once you hit this big goal, everything's going to be fine. That's not how it works. How it works is you build the systems, then the rest will come. That's one of the challenges. You have to build the systems. One of the things you can do is actually work on building the systems wherever you are. And I remember being super broke, independent freelance writer. My background is journalism, master's in magazine publishing, so I was really focused on the journalism craft. And I remember being super broke. And around that time, I started meditating every morning. It's around the time, actually, around the time I moved to New Orleans many, many years ago. And I started meditating every morning. That was free. I didn't have a yoga mat or anything fancy like that. I didn't have a teacher. I might have bought a book. I don't even think I bought a book about it. I might have asked a couple people about it that were in my circle. That's it. Other than that, I just sat my behind on the ground every morning when I woke up and sat there for 3 minutes. That's it. I still have that practice. I just did it this morning, so I do it most mornings. Now my kids are starting to do it with me, which is fantastic. My point is that I'm in a better financial place than I was, thankfully for my family too, and my gray hairs, that I'm in a better financial place than I was when I was first starting my career many, many years ago. But those systems are keeping me healthy mentally, physically, and emotionally today. I'm still meditating. Have more money in the bank, have more systems available. There's more access to things. YouTube had barely started, if it had started at all, when I started meditating. In fact, it was before YouTube, so I didn't have access to all these resources. My point is that that system was there for me all along. All I had to do is choose to grab it. Your system could be taking long walks in your neighborhood, or in the area of that, or if you're living more in the urban areas, driving or getting to one of the local parks and walking around. A lot of the urban areas I've lived in, from living in South Jersey, living in Chicago, living in NOLA, living all up and down the West Coast, even living here in Vegas, which is like a desert. Excuse me, all the major cities I've lived in, I think literally all of them had some type of park area. Not because I lived in fancy neighborhoods, but because most of the urban areas have that. If you live in a rural area, even better. Just walk outside, right? I have some relatives, a part of my family that lives on the countryside. They can just walk outside. Those systems are available to you. So what I what I often hear, I'm a business coach, right? So what I often hear from my coaching clients is, and even people that I connect with, is to say, well, I need to have this system in. I need to buy the yoga pants. I need to get the running shoes. I need to buy the gym membership, all that stuff. A lot of my gym work is me lifting my kids. We coming from a very solid family, so when we're hanging out, they give me a workout. That's part of my workout, but that's also a part of life, and it's free. It's right there, and or low cost. So if you have access to membership for certain things, whether it's mindfulness apps, which we'll talk about one of them in a second, if you're talking about buying a pass, because some parks require passes, buying a pass to a certain thing and saying, oh, okay, I'm going to buy back when I lived in Ohio, I think it was called the Metro Parks, trying to remember the name of it, Metro Parks. And it might be part of the taxes, but I think we also had to pay for it if we wanted extra access. So it's like $20 a year. All right, pay the $20 a year. It's less than $2 a month, I believe. And then particularly my kids were a lot younger then. We go play with the kids, you know, they weren't fishing yet, but go to the lake and stuff. It was fantastic stuff. Is that worth it? So that's really what we're talking about when it comes to you prioritizing rest in this year. Is it worth it to you? You don't need to be a millionaire. You don't need to have all your bills paid. You don't need to be in an exclusive community. You don't need to wear the right clothes. You don't need a yoga mat. All this stuff you don't need. Not required. It's a bigger discussion as far as with capitalism and advertising complex and all that. Again, I have a master's in magazine publishing. So part of the studying is understanding advertising. And part of the challenges we have, particularly here in America and the Western world, we'll call it, is that people want to sell you things and say, you need this particular thing to level up. You need this for inner peace. You need this to rest. You need to achieve this particular thing to show up a certain way in the world. Otherwise, you're not going to be taken seriously. People will laugh at you, and you're actually not going to find your peace. I'm here to say that's not true. That's a gimmick. Not re- all that stuff's not required. Again, you don't need the fancy running shoes. You don't need the yoga mat. You don't need to move to Tibet or the deep jungles of Brazil to find inner peace. That's not required at all. No shots of Brazil or Tibet. I'd love to visit both y'all um, in the future for real, particularly Tibet. But that's my point. You don't need all these external things. And a lot of these things are available in your world, number one. And number two, they're either free or low cost. So important to recognize that because one of the challenges that we get is that we feel like we need all kinds of different things to show up a certain way. And that's actually not true. That's not true at all. What we actually need to do is show up in a way that matches whatever lifestyle we happen to have. And if we can do that, then we have the opportunity, the real opportunity to actually do better and show up in a way that matches, really matches um, the rest that we need. Speaking of, this is a really good opportunity that I'm happy to share with you guys. Hopefully, it'll show up there. There we go. It should be showing up for you guys. There we go. Right in the corner is, I was wondering where it was. It's like, oh, it's in the corner. I'll put the bottom too. There we go. Same QR code. I love the app from Calm. You might have heard of it. There's Calm, there's Headspace. There's a few apps like that. What they basically do, and again, my personal favorite is Calm, is they have guided meditations, they have audio soundtracks. Even if you have like a white noise type of thing, like if you fall asleep or you rest better when you're listening to the rain. I love rain, originally from the Atlantic City, so I love the sound of water in general. So they have water sounds and whatever you need. There's just huge catalog, as well as audiobooks and audio stories that actually my kids love. My kids actually might love Calm more than I do. This isn't an affiliate. I'm not getting anything out of this, but since I'm a member of Calm, it allows you to have a free trial. I want to go ahead and give that to you guys because I will be remiss for me to be like, oh yeah, they're free or low cost tools to help you get to get balance this year and not include calm. That would be selfish of me. So that's my gift to you guys. It's a free trial. I believe as of this as of our live show, I believe it's 30 days, which is plenty, and you're good to go. And it's relatively affordable. I think I have the annual plan, but it's relatively affordable. And I hope that that goes and helps you guys. If you want to use the QR code, you can do that here and scan it with your phone. If you want to go ahead and go to the links below, I also have it in the links and go from there. If you happen to be watching on Twitch or one of the other platforms that doesn't always have the links, you can always go to youtube.com/Brown Damon or go to bringyourworth.tv. Even better. Just go to bringyourworth.tv, look for this episode, and all the info will be in there. But I hope that that gets you guys on the way. And at the paraphrase, someone I've taken classes from and has done some mentorship, Seth Godin. Love you, Seth. What we want to do is have the discussion so that you thinking that you need to get all this stuff, that it doesn't become excuses, right? Because sometimes we say we need the extra degrees. I'm talking, I have post grad degrees, so so I'm not judging you, but we need to get the degrees. We need the certification. We need the running shoes. We need the yoga pants. We need to do it the official way. When in reality, that ends up being friction, if not a red herring to us not doing the work. We have the great opportunity right now, more so than any other time, with all the chaos in the world, we have so many free to low cost tools that we can use to find ourselves balance. And if we find ourselves balance, then that will emanate into our family and the people that we care about around us. As that goes, then that's going to go from them into the greater collective. The best thing you can do for yourself is to find ways to get grounded because there's a lot of folks that are bouncing around here. Like I always say, they're bouncing around like pinballs. You don't want to be one of those people. And groundedness is the best way, the best defense towards bouncing around like a pinball, even if other people are acting a fool, as we used to say. All right, so creating systems with free or low cost tools. Again, we're talking about making rest a priority. And you can watch us live on Wednesdays at 1:11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Vegas time. You can subscribe below for free, whatever platform you're on. Second level of this, pace your productivity. Pace your productivity. I've been super active this week. I had called a relative a couple of days ago. I think it was on Monday, and I was like, I think my to-do list is almost done for the week. It's like Monday at like 11 a.m. It's like what? And then the next day, which was Tuesday, I was tired, and then I had more energy today. Number one, that's a part of getting older, at least for me. Again, see the gray hairs. But then the second part of it is knowing the pacing that you need, particularly when we're talking about New Year's resolutions, beginning of a year, et cetera, et cetera. Whenever we have a new start, quote unquote, a new start. If we're doing that, it's easy to say, I'm excited about everything. I'm going to do everything. I have all the energy in the world. There's a few things that you might want to keep in mind. Number one, you're in the honeymoon period because it's a new idea, or it's a new year, or you just had a birthday, or I don't know, it's Friday, you just got paid. Shout out to Johnny Kemp. Like, whatever the thing is, you're boosted by it. You also haven't created necessarily a system to stay productive. And so when I started this show, as of this recording about 5 years ago, I went all out and I was doing a show every single day until about a month into it, maybe. You can go to bringyourworth.tv. Well, the nice thing about having a TV show is that all your stuff is out in the open. So, it's literally you're building as people are watching, which is exciting and also frightening, particularly since I'm used to the more traditional media arts where you work on article and then you present the article in a publication. I digress. What I realized, thankfully, early on is I took my own advice. I was probably about 2 or 3 weeks in. I was doing a show every single day. It was when the pandemic began. Homeschooling, or virtual schooling, because my kids were in school, but they had just started. My youngest was just in started kindergarten. I think it was kindergarten, and we're doing the virtual schooling. It was a mess. Shout out to 2020. What a mess of a time. What a time to be alive, and thankful to be alive. And I'm doing a live show every day. I don't think it was 111, but I think it was earlier in the day. But every day, and by the second or third week, I was like, I want this thing to last. Do I want to hurry up and do all this stuff and have the pride to say, I have a daily show? Or am I going to create a system where I can take my time? A system where 5 years later, you can just have the fifth anniversary. 5 years later, I can still show up for y'all. I'll tell you what, if I had a daily show, yeah, I'd be on the, I don't know, thousandth episode, with the 5 days in a weekday. Probably be on like episode 1,000 or I don't know, 1,500 or some crazy number. Probably a little bit less than that, but you get what I'm talking about. Let's say I'd be at episode 1,200. Yes, I'd have the pride of that, but it'd be a lot more gray hairs. I'd be way more burnout. I'd probably be pretty crabby. I'd be going through the motions. So I scaled back and I went to Monday, Wednesday, Friday, excuse me. And then as my kids needed more, then I think I did Tuesday, Thursday. And now I'm live on Wednesdays. That's why it's episode 442. My whole point is that when you are looking at productivity, are you trying to feed your ego so you can tell people, yeah, I showed up, I got all this stuff done. So you can get a cookie, you get a pat on the back, or are you being productive in a way that it's sustainable? I knew I wanted to have this show for 5 plus years. I knew that at the time. I knew it was no way, no way. At a middle-aged guy with little kids, no, ain't no way to give my best self. I could do it every day, but to give my best self to y'all every single weekday and to have something that lasted for, I don't know, 10, 20 years until I retire or whatever happens after that, that wasn't that wasn't sustainable. So I adjusted things. Pace your productivity. Yes, you have the burst of energy because it's a new idea or it's a new year or whatever new thing have happened that gives you that boost. What systems can you put in place so that you can be continuously productive? That might mean some rough pushback to the people that you work with or that you work for. If you have a boss that understands that or a supervisor, then you can have a discussion with them and be like, hey, what is the priority project here? Because I'm working on 5 different projects. Which one is the priority? That's the priority. Okay, how about I put all my energy into that? And then we pace it in a certain way. It might be some tougher conversations. It might be conversations they don't want to hear. It might be some short term trade offs that you need to do to, frankly, survive in that kind of environment until you can get into a better situation. Whether you have another supervisor or you're another position or you move out of there. Sorry, definitely bug error around here in Vegas. Or you move out of here and then you go ahead and, and you have a situation that's more apt to you. Sometimes you just have to put your head down. But I'm guessing for 99% of y'all that are watching this right now, you're not in that situation. If you're independent, even better. Because again, even if you're dealing with financial challenges and things like that, which again I respect, freelancing is up and down. So you got 5,000% of my empathy and sympathy. You burning yourself out because you're trying to do everything right now is not going to create a sustainable career. I've had my career at this point for decades, building various companies, sold a couple of them. If I didn't have a pace of my productivity, I'd be in a lot of trouble. My favorite book right now that talks about this is literally called Slow Productivity. Shout out to Cal Newport. I actually did an interview with him and I forgot to put in the links, but I'll go ahead and put in the links if you're watching the rerun of this. I did an interview with him about after the pandemic started. So it might have been the first year of the show, so it's quite a while ago. And he did a wonderful book about what life would be without email, and it was fantastic. And a lot of discussions that we're dealing with as the pandemic was beginning, and we're trying to figure out the quote unquote new normal. His new book, or one of his newer books, I think came out a couple years ago. It's fantastic. I have it physically around here, but I'm reading it all the time, so I actually could not find it at my place. But that tells you how engaging it is. The book is so interesting. It talks about ways that you can be productive without burning yourself out, number one, and with having a sustainable career. When I was post grad, and I got my grad degree when I was around 22, 23, so I was relatively young. I knew I wanted to continue to do the type of work that I started with. Well, forever. We'll leave it like that. As long as my hands still worked, 'cause remember I was a writer. As long as my hands still worked, as long as my mouth still worked. So I got into public speaking later, et cetera, et cetera. If you have that vision, which I know a lot of you do, that's why you're watching the show. I coach some of y'all. I know the vision just because you shared it with me. I respect the vision. If you have that vision, then you grinding it. Shout to Clips. But grinding is a song. It is not a lifestyle. It is not sustainable. It's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. Again, I started serious with my career when I was around 22, 23. I'm many, many years past that. There's no way I'd be able to be productive over the years without that system. If you have a vision of, I'm going to build this business or these businesses, we'll say businesses, all these businesses, and I'm going to build it over time. I'm going to build something I'm going to pass on to my kids or have my sister or my aunt or my other folks involved later on. This is what I'm going to retire on. I'm going to build this up and I'm going to sell the company in 20 years. Whatever your vision is, not knocking that. But it has to be based on some type of system productivity. Otherwise, you're going to burn yourself out. You're not going to make it. I want you to make it. This book is an excellent start to that. It's probably my favorite book from Cal. But true to form, I got the book. Oh my gosh, when did I get the book? I think I got the book late last year, and I've taken like 2 to 3 months to read it because I could have read it fast. It's not a super dense thing, but I'm like, no, how can I read slow productivity fast? But it might be my favorite book from Cal. Shout out to Cal. I love the book, and I think he has another book that's coming out soon. But I'm on this one because Cal, you told me to be slow with it, so I was slow with it. So you want to pace your productivity. Pace your productivity. That goes under making rest a priority. Our topic for today. I'm Damon Brown. Bring Your Worth TV. Come to you Wednesdays live at 1:11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Vegas time. I'm an entrepreneurial coach. I'm happy to support you on your journey. You can learn more about my coaching at damonbrown.net. Treat rest as a healthy part of the routine. I will die on this hill, no pun intended. I will die on this hill. I started napping regularly, almost every day, um, many, many years ago. In fact, probably right before that time when I started meditating. So we're talking decades. And I would talk to people about it, and they would say, "Oh wow!" Number one, they would say, "Must be nice." There were a lot less freelancers back then. Everybody's working from home now. I was working from home back before it was cool, right? as the hipsters say. So they was like, "Must be nice," and I was like, "It is." I made the choices that allowed that to happen, and bless the universe for allowing me to do it. But then the second thing would be, I want to do better self care, so I should start. How do I nap? Da da da. I listen to that. I need to do better self care. So I have a dentist appointment in a few weeks, just routine stuff. If I decide to stop brushing my teeth, stop flossing the whole thing, breath just dragging, right? And then I came up to somebody, I was like, "Hey, I decided to brush my teeth today." They'd be like, "What?" What do you mean you decide to brush your teeth? You have to brush your teeth twice a day, ideally, and definitely floss. Use a mouthwash too. What do you mean you haven't been to the dentist? You need to get to the dentist. Why? Because it's part of the routine. If you don't take it, if you don't take care of your teeth, they're going to fall out, and you have all kinds of health problems, including if you have teeth problems, you're more likely to have heart attacks. They found a connection to that, et cetera, et cetera. I can go on. Do you see how that feels? Or it's like, hey, you know what? I took a shower today. I want to do some self care. I took a shower today. Think about that. But when it's like, I need a nap, I'm exhausted. When it's, wow, I'm really stressed out. I need some quiet time. When it's, I'm really angry right now because something happened. I need to take a walk. When it's somebody that's dependent on you, I'm looking at my beautiful kids, right? Someone that's dependent on you, and you say, hey, I need a break. When we say, yeah, I'm gonna get a massage because my back is full all out of whack. For some reason, that's in the self care category. But teeth, hair, the bit that I have, teeth, hair, hygiene, stuff like that. For some reason, as it should be, that's considered not optional. Me resting, you resting is not optional. It's not optional. It's not a negotiating factor. If your kids or a relative that was dependent on you needed something and you are working that day, you had a traditional job, and you're the only one that could provide it for them, what would you do? You'd be like, "Hey, my son needs to go to the doctor. I need this time off. Hey, my auntie needs to get new glasses. Her eyes are really bad right now. So I won't be in until the early afternoon." It's a non-negotiable. Now, if your job or your business or your boss or whatever structure you're in doesn't support that, that's another discussion. But it's an important discussion. But if you're your own boss, again, my boss is a jerk and I'm my own boss, then you have the opportunity to create a system, a structure. Do you see the pattern? That supports that, but not just for other people that you care about. I would do anything for my kids. They know that. I know that. My family knows that. But would I do anything for myself? So why wouldn't you provide the care that you give to other people and provide it to yourself? It's not about the quote unquote self care. It's about you working hard, more than likely. I don't want to assume, but working hard, making these trade offs, particularly if you're doing a startup, you're a side hustler, you're building your business, you're a non traditional entrepreneur, like a lot of people that I support within this community. You're doing all these things. Why wouldn't you contribute to your longevity? That's what gets me out of bed when this morning I didn't want to meditate, but I did. I took a walk. Did I feel like taking a walk? Sort of. But I knew that I needed to get outside and to move because it was relatively sedate over the last couple of days because I was working. All those things are part or should be part of our routine because that adds to our longevity. If we really want to be in the game, if we really want to have the businesses that last 5, 10, 15, 20, feel like an auctioneer, but last all those decades, but we're not getting our proverbial oil changed, how's that supposed to work? The engine's not going to make it at all. That transmission's falling out. I don't want that for you guys. You shouldn't want that for you. I want better for you. The rest that you get should be part of your regular routine. Don't treat it like self-care where you're at home watching soap operas, wearing a muumuu, eating bonbons. If you know that reference, then we are the same age. But do you understand my point? It's not just you sitting down doing nothing. It's you actually taking care of yourself. I think that's such a key part of this discussion. I would be, again, remiss if we didn't talk about that. One of my favorite episodes that probably that's ever been on the channel. It's episode 129. We're on episode 442 right now. So this is a classic episode. This is probably a few years ago now. The truth about feeling guilty when you rest. Brene Brown. I like the Brene Brown, uh, currently the premier expert on emotional intelligence, definitely for my generation. She realized she was burning herself out. She had two podcasts, consulting firm, a lot of employees, all kinds of stuff, doing all kinds of stuff down in Texas. And she was like, you know what? I'm going to stop. I need to stop. And she ended up taking a break for, I want to say 6 to 9 months. I think she took a break in February and then came back. I think it was fall. So let's just call it 9 months. The way she did it, though, was fantastic. And she also, which is one of the reasons why I like her, she turned it into a lesson for all of us where there's amount of guilt and shame. I get into the difference. There is a difference. We can't use them interchangeably. There's an amount of guilt and shame when it comes to when we want to take a break, when we want to stop. It could be, which I've been hearing a lot about, and fortunately, some of my family members are dealing with this. It could be that you have a certain amount of guilt because when you're growing up, if your parents or your guardians came in the room and you didn't look busy, they would chastise you and call you lazy or say that you should be doing something. That hurts. It could be because if you actually are resting, then you feel like that's a waste of time because you could be doing something else, taking care of someone else. It could be guilt because you actually have the opportunity to rest. I'm in a place with my businesses. Thank you for the support. I'm at a place financially. I'm at a place structurally where I can go and take a nap. A lot of people that I care about, a lot of people that I work with are not in a place structurally where they can take a nap. And in the links below, I talk about the different ways that you can rest, even when you can't, quote unquote, take a nap or take a day off randomly. There's a lot of survivor's guilt and a lot of almost a level of shame with that I had to process. I'm only a couple generations away from the hood. Not This is one generation. I'm talking about a couple generations. I'm tripping. I'm one generation away from the hood. As in, okay, how are we gonna make things work? We need to make this food stretch. Da da da. Okay, you're gonna be wearing hand-me-downs. Whatever the situation was. I'm only a degree away from that life. So for me to have, my Brooks Brothers suit on or blazer and my nice shirt and to hang out with you guys and then to go take a nap, there's guilt around that and a little bit of shame because there's other people who do not have that, including other people in my more distant family who are trying to figure things out. But that doesn't mean that Damon shouldn't get his rest. Those are two separate things. Brene gets into that. You see me starting to spit about it now, but it's a fantastic episode, if I may say so myself. It's one of my favorites, and based on the amount of views, it's one of you guys' favorites too. Be sure and check it out. Oh, for all these, you can use I'm starting to play with QR codes now. You use the QR code if you happen to be watching this on your laptop or your computer, your home computer or whatever. Then you can use your phone and then hit the QR, take out the pictures. For people who are Gen X and older, I'm gonna break it down. You can take your phone out, hit the camera, don't take a picture, but just use the camera to point to it, and then you put your camera right over the QR code, and then the link will pop up there. You click on the link, it takes you straight there. If you're more old school like myself, you just click on the links below my big head. They should be all there. Again, if you're watching on Twitch or one of the more alternative platforms, you can just go to bringyourworth.tv, and all the links are listed under this video, which is what is this video? On this video, make rest a priority. Live Q&A. Bring Your Worth 442. Again, I'm entrepreneur coach Damon Brown, and for y'all that are hanging out, do you consider rest a part of your routine? And if you do, when did that change happen for you? I know it happened for me, excuse me, relatively early on in my career. Again, the post grad broke period of time, just because I knew that I wasn't following the same path as my peers that went to Northwestern, or my peers that back in the day went to Oakland University. Shout out to Oakland, where I went to an undergrad. I wasn't taking the same path. And if I wasn't going to take the same path, I was to take all these risks financially, mentally, emotionally, of becoming a freelancer, particularly back then, where it was a lot less glamorous, a lot less people working from home. If I was going to take this non-traditional route, then that meant that I was also going to take the benefits of it. I work from home. I work really hard. I tend to be really intense when I work. So I had an intense morning, give myself a half an hour to 45 minutes to just stop. And then I'm one of those people where I tend to be a night owl, or at least I used to be before I had kids. And so it's like, okay, I'm going to be staying up late. The 8 hours, quote unquote, 8 hours is going to happen anyway. It's going to happen. And if you're independent, it's probably more than 8 hours that we usually end up putting in. You know what I mean? So with that in mind, it's like, oh, heck yeah, let me go ahead and take a break. When was the moment for y'all when you were like, I'm going to make rest part of my healthy routine? I am going to take that nap. I'm going to take that walk. I am going to get the Calm subscription. Again, Calm is over here if you want to give a free trial. I'm going to do that. When is that going to happen? When did it happen? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear it. And perhaps the most important thing, honor the different types of rest. I love this because there's a um, there's a mythology, and I was part of that too. This has been a recent developments. A mythology that rest only comes in a certain way. Rest is taking the day off. It's vegging out on TV, as we used to say, or watching, your favorite media platform all day. It's playing video games. I'm still a gamer. Playing video games. It's taking a nap. It's, as I point to to where I lay down at, taking a nap. All these different things. That's fine. But there's different types of rest that actually can rejuvenate you. I think it's important to go ahead and break that down because if we don't if we think resting is just I need to take a big vacation, be in the Maldives or some spot out there, or I need to go and have the whole day off and not do anything all day, that's only taking advantage of one thing. So there's different dimensions to it. I actually talk about that in a short video that I just excuse me, that I just put up last night. And I'm liking the feedback so far, so I appreciate that. And it is, there we go. There we go. Some ways you can rest every single day. And the 7 ways, and this is actually a short. So again, you use your QR code or click the link below. It's a short. So it's literally, I think it's 45 seconds. So watch it when you can, and if you're already subscribed to me on YouTube at bringyourwork.tv, it'll probably pop up in your feed anyway. But the 7 types that they talk about that psychologists have discovered are physical. That's what we often talk about. There's mental, as far as taking a mental break, where you're kind of checking out or you're daydreaming, and you're like, shout out to Dr. Natalie Nixon. I just got your new book about movement. I'll be talking about that in a future episode, but I appreciate your work, as you know. Um, but daydreaming and things of that nature, which Dr. Nixon talks about. There's emotional rest, which means getting yourself, at least in my opinion, getting yourself out of a charged situation so that you can kind of recalibrate. There's social rest. As an introvert, I respect that one. There's sensory rest, where you quiet the senses, whether you can close your eyes, or you can cover your ears, or be in a quiet environment, or go into an environment where the senses are very pleasing, as opposed to the more intense and jagged or overwhelming and intense sounds and feelings. There's creative rest, which I do quite a bit, and so do my artist friends. You know who you are. Where if you're a writer by trade, then maybe you're painting for a little while, or I like to crochet, so maybe you're crocheting for a little while. You alternate things and you do something different. And lastly, there's spiritual rest. That means hanging out or spending time with people or environments that match your spiritual practices, Or in my case, since my spiritual practices involve meditation, it's building in some type of time to do that, which is what I did earlier today. I still meditate. I think I meditated for 5 minutes this morning, but that was all I needed to kind of reset my brain and to get that rest. I'm positive of it. If I didn't meditate this morning, that I wouldn't have the clarity to speak with you guys right now. So it's part of a bigger idea. But go and click on the link, and then you can check out the short. I talk about it, and it's like a list that you guys can go back to, which was my intention. There are different ways that you can rest. Don't be afraid to lean on one particular type of resting when the other ones that you usually do don't work out. Like an obvious example is that when my kids are at home, they're getting old enough where they sometimes let me go take a quick nap, but most of the time it's like, hey, dad, 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 hey, dad, father, father. Right? It's like the Family Guy clip, right? If you know, you know that type of thing. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I love my kids. I'll do anything for them, as I've said multiple times during the show. That said, physical rest when my kids are at home, it ain't gonna happen. And my kids look at me like, a big wrestling toy, so they're jumping on me half the time, even though they're huge, even though becoming very big kids. They're kind of like little puppies where they don't realize the size of their paws. So physical rest when I'm hanging out with my boys, when they're spending time with me, ain't gonna happen. I'd be lucky if I get a moment of quiet. But I might be able to do more of the social rest where it's just me and my boys and we're not being social with the outside world. So I'm used to being social with them, so that's a kind of rest, as opposed to doing things outside, literally outside, as in like, going to museums and stuff like that. We do that, but sometimes we need the rest where it's just the three of us and we just are spending time together, cracking jokes, watching videos, playing video games. We're all big readers, sitting there reading. So there's different types of rest that you can get based on the situation you're in your life. Again, I talk about that in my newsletter at joindamon.me. Links below. You can go and get the newsletter for free every week. But do you understand my point? So there's different ways that you can show up that make it a little bit easier. And shout out to James Oliver Jr. Last minute edition. His new book is out. Burn Bright, Not Out. It talks about how we can be entrepreneurs and do it in a way so that we don't destroy our productivity and also don't destroy ourselves. Again, going back to the balance. It literally just came out. My copy's in the mail. So hopefully I'll have some more feedback and a deeper review for you guys in the upcoming episodes. Probably next week, but we'll see how it goes. Depends on how the shipping goes and all that good stuff. And so, what kind of rest are you guys focused on today? What are you trying to do? Are you trying to get the physical rest? Are you trying to get the mental rest? Are you trying to get the emotional rest? Are you going after the social rest where you're trying to get quiet? Are you doing the sensory rest where you're in a beautiful or soothing environments and/or you're just turning off your senses and having that quiet? Are you doing creative rest where you're trying to alternate and do different things? Or are you doing the spiritual rest where you're going to your places of worship or in those practices that you believe in that give you strength? Are you leaning into that? I think all those things are valid. I think it's so important to have that discussion and to really consider the ways that we can support ourselves no matter what the particular environment is. Next week, I am so excited about next week's episode. I am geeked. Next week's episode, you probably see a pattern here. Find peace this year. Shout out to John Hamm for volunteering for the cover. There's so much stuff going on right now. A lot of stuff going on right now. There's always a lot of stuff going on right now. I've been saying that for the last five years, and there's always stuff going on. So the world is going through a lot. It's often going through a lot. The world's going through a lot. No matter what the world's going through, if you're not grounded, you're not going to make it. It could be quote unquote peaceful times. It could be very dramatic times. We happen to be in very dramatic times right now. I want you to make it. I want you to have your feet 10 toes down, as they say, and terra firma in your practice of rest, in your practice of community and connection. It could be virtual, it could be in person. I'm blessed to have both. Wherever you get that, the 7 types of rest. There's You can hit one of them today. I'm positive. I'll bet money you can hit one of those rests today. If you can't hit it today, then tomorrow's another 24 hours. You can absolutely hit it. I have confidence in that. The upcoming episode, which will be a week from now as of this recording, finding peace this year. What are the strategies where you can have the long lasting thing? Today, we talked about how you can rest while still being productive because we got bills to pay. We got people that are dependent on us. We got to rock and roll. The next episode, episode 443, we're going a little bit deeper. What are the long lasting systems and practices you can put into place to actually have better peace this year? As you can tell, I'm geeked about it. I'm geeked about it. You can click on the link right now, use the QR code, and then there's an option to get a notification when the episode goes live, so you can hang out with me in the upcoming episode, and then bring your questions. I'm excited to hang out with y'all. That is everything. As we talked about, there's so many things you can do to make rest a priority today. You can create systems with free or low cost tools. You can pace your productivity, essential. Treat rest as part of a healthy routine. It is not self care. And this year, we're off that. We're not calling it self care anymore. It's just rest. Self care gives images of spas and stuff. And I love spas. Trust me, I love a good spa. But that's not what we're talking about. And lastly, how to honor your different rests. Thank you for coming through with me. And thanks for your wonderful comments too. I've gone offline and so forth. There should be an episode that pops up if you're watching this on YouTube. It'll be something that'll be up your alley, and maybe even it'll be the upcoming episode that we have about making peace or finding peace. Not making peace. We're not making peace this year, but we're finding peace this year. All right. Much love to y'all. Remember, you can always bring your worth. You can always build from now. Take care of yourself and others.